Hey everyone, this is actually going to be an unscripted, unfocused video. It's going to be edited of course, but I haven't done one of these in a long time. I do off-the-cuff videos regularly, but usually I have a script for those, and I don't have a script for this because I need to vent some anger, process my feelings on something. So you're about to hear a lot of very personal stuff and a lot of very angry stuff. If that's not your thing, then I would suggest you take off. No care is given to the visuals here. I just threw something up in the background there. This is more just something to listen to. So with everything coming out about Blizzard and the World of Warcraft team in particular, but I mean Blizzard as a whole, I've been sort of sitting here and thinking about like my love-hate relationship with World of Warcraft, which is fucking weird. Because I've been playing World of Warcraft since it came out, with only brief hiatuses in Cataclysm and Battle for Azeroth. At all of the times, I have pretty much played the game rather consistently. And even in Cataclysm, it was less a break because the game wasn't keeping me engaged. Although admittedly, Cataclysm was a pretty dull expansion. It was just more because financial issues meant I just couldn't play it anymore. And I came back toward the tail end of Mists of Pandaria. Now, I started playing World of Warcraft. Now, like when I started playing World of Warcraft, I was playing Alliance. I had a human warrior. And like the warrior had always been my class right up from vanilla World of Warcraft. The warrior had been my class, and it's kind of ruined me for other RPGs because it's like, people tell me it's like, oh, you need to try Final Fantasy 14. They don't have my class. Like they have a warrior, but it's not the warrior that I want to play. And as a result, I just don't want to play it. Oh, you could try the other class. I really don't want to. And I've played in almost every single expansion. It's been a wild ride. I've been playing this game since I was 12 years old, okay? I've been playing this game since I was about 12 or 13 years old. That's a long time to be playing one game. A very long time. And World of Warcraft has always occupied a very weird place, like, in my head. Because I always tell you guys, like, to not get emotionally attached to media, to shows. I tend to point to Steven Universe and, like, its aggressively ardent supporters who are in, like, deep denial to the point of delusion. They've tied so much of their identity to this cartoon. And I always tell you guys, it's like, don't do that. Be ready to drop these things, because at the end of the day, they aren't that important. But the example I always come back to whenever I talk about this stuff is my relationship with World of Warcraft. I've been playing World of Warcraft, like I said, for so long that it's pretty much been in the background of my life through a lot of things, like parental abuse, health issues. I spent about a year and a half in an inpatient hospital when I was a teenager for a variety of things, mostly parental abuse. Really horrible, toxically masculine friend group I was in while I was in the Brony community. My horrible relationship with my abusive ex-fiance. All of the terrible things that happened to me in 2018. You guys kind of know about that. It's always been this. It's always been there, running in the background. And after a while, like when that happens, it kind of becomes your coping mechanism, especially with World of Warcraft, because as you guys know. Because as you guys can probably see from the images I have on screen, is that around the time of like Cataclysm, Mists of Pandaria, so this would have been around 2012, I went Horde. I changed from a human warrior to a blood elf warrior and never really went back. And you guys know that Sylvanas Windrunner is a huge comfort character for me. And she's a comfort character for me specifically because I've been through a hell of a lot of shit in my life, and so has she. And that's kind of how you end up getting these connections with characters. And that's kind of why I went blood elf. And like Sylvanas had been my favorite character for a long time, but I didn't really fully understand her until roundabout 2012, 2013. And that was sort of what kept me playing WoW for the longest time. So let's back up a bit. You guys already know that there's Blizzard's lawsuit for having a horribly misogynistic work culture. Like the kind of work culture, it looks like some dude bros WoW fanfic. Because way too many fanfics like that out there. It looks like some dude bros WoW fanfic with them just lording around the place, throwing all the work onto the women who work there, slacking off, sexually harassing, sexually assaulting, and in one case even murdering one of their employees. It's a horribly misogynistic workplace with former creative director Alex Afrasiabi. Did I pronounce that right? I don't care if I pronounce that right, honestly. I really don't fucking care. Being one of the few named perpetrators, but as we've seen, like, more recently, is that, you know, like, Greg Street, Corey Stockton, fucking Ghost Crawler. No, Ghost Crawler is Greg Street. Ghost Crawler, Corey Stockton, Dave Kosak. All of these people were involved in it. There were very few people in Blizzard's senior staff that weren't involved in it. The senior staff has basically been rotten to the core. And a lot of the new senior staff that they've had recently, you know, like they've Steve Denuser and Christy Golden and Ian Hazacostas, they're not better. Like, I need to stress this right now. People kind of point to those ones and say, oh, well, they're the better ones. They really aren't, and we'll get into that. But all of that coming up has, like, kind of brought me back to why I stopped playing WoW, which inevitably brought me back to why I kept playing WoW. So like I said, I kept playing WoW because it was something of a comfort. And it had a lot of comfort characters in there, but the way Blizzard always handled those characters was horrible. The way they handled their characters was emblematic of how they treated their employees. Whether they were real or fictional, Blizzard's senior staff despises women. They've always despised women, and they will always despise. Maybe eventually someone will conk them across the head with a fucking shovel, but until then, I can't treat it as if things are going to change. And Sylvanas especially, because all of their female characters are treated like, all of WoW's female characters are treated like absolute fucking garbage. By the story, by the narrative, by the writers. But Sylvanas gets it the most and gets it the worst. I find that Sylvanas is herself a barometer because Alex Afrasiabi has written quests in World of Warcraft in the past and has shown a pretty intense contempt for the character. Like, Alex Afrasiabi is the guy who wrote "Watch Your Clever Mouth, Bitch." That's his work. That's his handiwork. And over the course of World of Warcraft's lifespan, there has been this consistent degradation of Sylvanas' character, where she basically just gets shit on for no reason. She can't get away with the things that many other characters get away with. Like, I think Sylvanas is the first character to be vilified for committing genocide since Wrath of the Lich King. And I've talked about the way Sylvanas is characterized in the past, and that a lot of what I've said there also applies to characters like Jaina and Tyrande as well. As time went on, and it just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, to the point where we've reached Shadowlands, which is basically the expansion where Blizzard senior staff tells women to full and well go fuck themselves. And it got to the point where I just couldn't fucking handle it anymore. Like, just... Sylvanas is a trauma survivor. And indeed, many of the female characters WoW likes to shit on are trauma survivors. Like, it's not just misogyny. If you're a trauma survivor, you get a heaping dose of degradation as well. It's just that most of their trauma survivors are also women. I always found a certain degree of, like I said, I was quite attached to Sylvanas as a character because of a quasi-shared experience. You know, that's kind of what happens when you go through a lot of shit and you turn to media as a coping mechanism. You tend to latch onto character. Watching Sylvanas' character be steadily degraded, have her support system stripped away, her family treat her like shit for no reason, just get consistently pummeled and degraded and beaten down and battered by the narrative throughout World of Warcraft throughout the last few years. I couldn't escape the feeling, being a trauma survivor myself, I could not escape the feeling that Blizzard was saying, this is you. This is what we think of you. And I said this at the end of one of my videos, but that was really what it felt like. I had to quit because I quit a few weeks before all of this broke out. And I had to quit because I just did not feel welcome, like, in World of Warcraft. I just didn't feel welcome. Because the way they write these characters, there's nothing in it other than pure, absolute, unhinged malice. Like, there is no cluelessness or ignorance or just being bad at writing women, okay? Seth MacFarlane is bad at writing women, okay? George Lucas is bad at writing women. What World of Warcraft's devs do with their female characters is nothing short of absolutely fucking ghoulish. And there is no ignorance. There is no feigning ignorance. There is only malice all the way down. Like, all of the senior staff, all the way down from, like, former senior staff like Tom Chilton and Chris Metzen to the current best friends forever team of Ian Hazacostas, Steve Denuser, and Christy Golden. It is nothing short of the most pure fucking contempt, the most pure fucking malice I have ever fucking seen. Ever since we came back from the Rin family hiatus that was Warlords of Draenor, it has just been a constant stream of characters who are positioned as trauma survivors, shown to be evil for wanting justice, and then either being killed, imprisoned, further tormented, or even worse, pacified. You guys remember in Battle for Azeroth, Jaina's story arc was basically fucking hamstrung. You know, she had that whole Warbringers of beware, beware of me. And the end result was she did very little and got completely fucking pacified. To the point that now she's an Alliance good girl again. Sylvanas was intensely villainized, and no doubt they will pacify her. I was always worried they were going to kill Sylvanas, but as it turns out, they are pacifying her. Tyrande is basically set on this course of vengeance, and then battered and beaten and worn down to the point until the point where it's like, where she goes, you need to choose between revenge and forgiveness is the only path to heal. And speaking as someone who has a vested interest in Tyrande failing at getting her vengeance, fuck you. Just fuck you. I don't understand why this particular trope is so fucking prevalent to them. They love it so... No, that's not true. I understand exactly why it's so fucking prevalent to them. We all know. We've seen the lawsuit. They have a vested interest in gaslighting people into not seeking out justice for being wronged. I didn't even mention Helya. Helya's another character who is, like Sylvanas, is pretty much raped by some guy, and then treated as a villain while her abuser is treated as some heroic figure. I can't see, I don't know how anyone who is sensitive to these issues could play that and not just take the hint. Take the hint that, hey, you're a woman who has suffered an intense trauma, fuck you. Fuck you. If I could, I would spit on you if I could. That's what Blizzard's devs, that's what they fucking say with this shit. And they act clueless, and they get sniffy, and fucking Steve Denuser and Christy Golden get real fucking sniffy when you point out their writing. But the two of them write like a fucking toddler slapping his hands against some fucking watercolor paint. The garbage they write is the kind of stuff that a psychiatric ward has to clean off the fucking walls. And of course, and recently with Shadowlands and toward the end of Battle for Azeroth, they basically just took an approach of teasing and 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 teasing. Wait and see, wait and see, wait and see, wait and see. There's always this, you'll often hear jackasses complain about the fact that, oh man, it's always about Sylvanas. It's always about Sylvanas. In truth, Sylvanas only appears in 10% of Legion, BFA, and Shadowlands. She is in very little of the actual story, because her entire character is shrouded in mystery, and it's done for the same reason that every hack fuck does this shit. It's always for the sake of, if they don't know what the fuck is going on, if they don't know what the story is, then they can't criticize you for it. And then they throw all the details into some book that nobody will ever fucking read. And eventually you can't just help but wonder, shit or get off the pot, you insufferable fucking hack. Rebecca Sugar had more creative integrity than this fucking guy. Just tell a fucking story. Just tell your shit story and let's get it over with. Because it's been three expansions of this. From like Legion cutting Sylvanas's character story that was supposed to be in there because they got a new lead narrative designer and he had his own ideas for what he wanted to do, and they were terrible. Got it to just giving it out of these tiny little bits and pieces and cramming these things with meaningless fucking garbage. And they spend so much fucking time building up the Covenants and the Covenant characters. They don't actually build the characters, it's just, oh, let's go find the Primus. Can we deal with the main fucking story? The actual characters we brought here? Because we start Shadowlands, and you bring Thrall, Anduin, Bane, Jaina, Bolvar, and the Champion in here, and they just fucking sit there in Oribus for the entire expansion doing absolutely fucking nothing. And they aren't involved in the story at all, and everything is about the Covenants, and more Covenants, and more Covenants, and more Covenants, and it's just, get on with it! Fucking get on with it! This is kind of why it took me so long to get out of this, because it really wasn't until the 9.1 stuff started to come out, when it was on the PTR and everything, that it just became, like, you could finally see through the charade and realize, oh, okay, you just fucking hate trauma survivors. All that lead up, all that hype, all that build up to fuck rape victims. That's what it was leading up to. Fuck abuse victims. Fuck trauma survivors. That's what all that Wait and see built up to, was building up to. Exactly what we expected. And people always get, people complain about the fact that the WoW player base always expects the worst from Blizzard. You know, they always take what Blizzard says in the worst possible light. But we are right to do that. We are absolutely right to do that because Blizzard has proven time and time and time again that they just cannot pull their heads out of their asses. And this extends even beyond story, it extends to the actual gameplay itself. World of Warcraft is grindier now than it has ever been before, even grindier than Classic. Since Legion, they have been shoving all of these fucking grind and progression systems into the game. Constantly. And they've been wanting to do it for a while. Back in Cataclysm, they had the planned feature of the Path of the Titans, which is pretty much just what we deal with now all the fucking time. And when it got scrapped, the devs could not stop talking about it. Every BlizzCon over the next few years, the 2 BlizzCons in Cataclysm, the 2 BlizzCons in Mists of Pandaria, the 2 BlizzCons in Warlords of Draenor, they kept bringing up, oh, we really want to do level cap progressing your character at level cap. They would not shut the fuck up about it, even to the point where people this was the time they were still taking open questions. And when they weren't actively sneering at women for asking, hey, when is Sylvanas gonna get, a chest plate or something? When they weren't doing shit like that, they were basically constantly talking it up, to the point people just started saying shit or get off the pot. And around Legion, when Ian Hazzikostas became game director, he put in the artifact weapons, and that was the harbinger of things to come. Because every major patch, there has been more and more and more of these systems. From artifact weapons, the Netherlight Crucible, Azerite armor, essences, corruption, covenants, conduits, soulbinds, domination runes. Just this constant stream of systems all the fucking time, and every single fucking time the community throws it back in their face. We fucking hate it. The only time they didn't hate it was artifact weapons. You know why? Because you got a cool fucking weapon. You got a cool legendary weapon, and it was the only weapon you were going to get, and so leveling it up was basically the same as upgrading your weapon. It worked. It worked just fine, but then they fucked it up with Azerite armor and conduits and domination runes because a random piece of green questing shoulders is not as cool as the fucking Ashbringer. And a fucking toddler could have pointed this out to them. And people pointed it out to them all the fucking time, and they never fucking listened. From betas and PTRs, people were telling them these systems do not fucking work. There are problems in them that we are spotting 10 minutes in, and they don't fucking work. And what does Blizzard do? They just barrel on anyway, because in their interminable fucking stubbornness, they just cannot fucking accept that they were wrong. That their precious fucking progression systems and grinding systems were just not well received. They scrapped Path of the Titans and Cataclysm. They would never do that now. They would absolutely never do that now. At this point, they would sooner take the pruning shears to their own fucking eyeballs than dare cut one of these fucking systems. And this is at a time where they can barely put quivers back in the game for hunters. Something that exists in the game. It does exist in the game. The stuff to put it in is right fucking there, and they've done it twice, and they've done it before with the marksmanship artifact weapon, and they can never find the time to do it. But they can find the time to basically conjure up more of these fucking progression systems out of thin air. And this shit's not easy to do. This shit isn't easy to code. And they waste so much fucking time on it. When the players come back and say, we hate this, they fucking argue with people. They're confused when people don't like them because they're basically tier sets. No, they're not. Tier sets had the same thing going for them that artifact weapons do, and that was cool art. The art department and the voice actors have been carrying this fucking game since Legion. You can't say a fucking gem slot or a talent, but it's not really a talent, but it's actually a fucking talent, is the same as getting a cool armor set for your class or a cool weapon for your class. That's the shit people care about. That's why people want their fucking that's why hunters want their fucking quivers back. People care about the cosmetics, not these terminal fucking grinds. They Google, what's the best thing I need, and then they go get the best thing they need, and then they're done with it. And then Blizzard keeps fucking with the system because they don't want you to be done with it. Because you can't play the game like a normal person. You gotta play it under whatever fucking acid-infused eyes Blizzard is using. Ian Hazzikostas got drunk one day, came up with a system, and refused to accept that it was a bad idea. Fucking Tetsuya Nomura has more common sense than this jackass. And they keep relying on comparisons to Azerite, artifact weapons and tier sets. I mean, those were level cap progressions. This is basically the same. Really? Does it come with cool art? No, it fucking doesn't. Can I, cause like a tier set you can use forever. You can transmog a tier set and keep it forever. Your I keep saying Azurite weapons. Your artifact weapons, you can transmog them forever. You can keep them forever. You have that cool weapon forever, or until the game dies, which is starting to be sooner rather than later. You can't take a fucking conduit. You can't take a domination rune. You can't take corruption. Why the fuck would you want to? It's just more numbers, and they get reset. The art assets last so much fucking longer. People go back and farm tier sets. They go back and they farm tier sets from previous expansions because they look cool and they want them, and they couldn't get them to fucking drop when it was current content, or they didn't do with the current content. But they want their character to look cool, and that's why they go back and do it. Is anyone gonna go back and farm shards of domination when patch 2.1, when patch 9.1 is over? No, they're not gonna fucking do that. Like, once shards of domination are no longer current content, they are going to drop it and fuck off from it completely and wash their hands of it. When the Shadowlands pre-patch came out and corruption got deleted from the fucking game, people fucking rejoiced. Because all it was just a hassle and a fucking burden nobody wanted to deal with. They just want to play their fucking character, not spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours mapping out all the proper math that they need before they can start playing their character. When you come back to cosmetics, that's an even worse element because, again, like kind of like what I said with Quivers, Blizzard is so fucking controlling about it. They were announcing, they announced new customizations for Shadowlands, and the first thing people were begging for was Dark Ranger customizations for Blood Elves. You know, let us look like our elf is undead. It was the thing that people demanded more than anything else. You know, aside from Alliance players wanting high elves. That was what they wanted. They wanted it so badly. And what did Blizzard give Blood Elf players? Jewelry. Just jewelry. If you weren't a human, an orc, or a night elf player, you got fucked over. You got completely fucked over. Your chosen race got nothing. Got almost less than nothing. The only good thing that the Blood Elves got were the new skin tones, which are great. They're amazing. I've made cool characters with them. If those new customizations hadn't come around, we wouldn't have Tally. And I like Tally. Tally's an absolutely adorable character. But we could have had so much more of this. We could have had more cool customizations like this, instead of useless trash nobody will ever use. And if you weren't a human player, an orc player, or a night elf player, you got to eat shit straight from the jar with a great big dessert spoon. Because again, can't let players have too much fun. They might like the game. They might enjoy playing it. And it really does feel like Blizzard has such an outright contempt for the player base that they actively go out of their way to make the game less fun. I know that's probably not what they're doing, but that's how it comes across when they make everything so fucking boring, and then people say, hey, can we have this thing that would be fun? And they go, no. Blizzard has had a reputation of being the fun police for a long time. Half of their changes basically get met with, fun was detected, fun has been nerfed. I guarantee you that if there was a way to glitch the game in such a way that you could have a quiver on your back, regardless of what kind of bow you had equipped, they would find a way to get rid of it. They would consider that the most pressing thing to fucking fix. Even when they introduced the transmog system, it came with so many arbitrary restrictions. Like, there's a pair of, I can't remember if they're daggers or maces, but they look like a fish. So you could basically hit or stab somebody with a fish. It's funny. You couldn't transmog that for the longest fucking time. Transmog was introduced in Cataclysm. That item existed since Wrath of the Lich King. Couldn't transmog it until about Battle for Azeroth. For no reason. They just don't, you can't transmog different armor types. Because it's like, oh, well, you know, I mean, we don't want, I mean, you don't want your tank to show up in a bathrobe and a pimp hat. Yes, I do. I would love to see that. Yes, Gunny, please come to the raid in a bathrobe and a pimp hat. That would be hilarious. Slap Shriekwing with a rubber chicken. That would be awesome. It comes back to, like, Battlefront 2 and that, oh, well, nobody wants a pink Darth Vader. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do want a pink Darth Vader. Oh, I'm sorry. Is pink Darth Vader too silly in this game about space samurais made for children? Oh, is slapping someone with a fish just too silly in this cartoon fantasy RPG? This is serious Warcraft. Blizzard has had this overbearing, over-controlling nature for so fucking long. And they have this sterilized, watered down, unenjoyable version of the game in their minds. And they have spent a long time making that happen. To the point that the story is basically just a fucking Netflix series of a 45-minute episode, 30 minutes of absolute fucking useless fluff, 15 minutes of story, and then find out next episode. And that's what it is from a story perspective. From a gameplay perspective, it is a dull, dreary, mind-numbing grind. And from a cosmetic perspective, all the charm has been stripped away. And anytime players want some charm in it, Blizzard says no. Story's like a Netflix show, it looks like a Netflix show, and it plays like a fucking live service. And as it turns out, as anyone who has been looking at the story centering around Sylvanas, or Helya, or Jaina, or Tyrande, as they would have absolutely told you, they're absolute fucking bastards to the women who work on this fucking game. They treat their own employees with the same sneering fucking contempt as the fictional characters they made up. I don't like to make a blanket statement like hating Sylvanas is a sign that you're clearly a misogynist, but it's really started to look like that. Like, I don't think I'm crazy to look at the correlation and look at the people who are just dismissing all of this and see that correlation. I see people comment on the Warbringers saying how satisfying it is to watch Sylvanas get impaled through the chest by Frostmourne. And then I'll see that same person going, ugh, this lawsuit's so stupid, I just want 9.2. They're the same person every fucking time. I don't know how you get like this. I don't know how anybody gets like this. It's clear they don't enjoy what they're, like, the senior staff at Blizzard hate their fucking jobs. Quit and let other people do it better. Because at this point, a fucking monkey could write a better story than you. At this point, I could write a better story than you, and I fucking did. This isn't to say that if World of Warcraft had been a better game, that would make the lawsuit easier to ignore. It wouldn't. A parallel universe where the in-game trash doesn't happen, like, that can only happen in an environment where the abuse could not have been allowed to happen. Because the contempt they hold for their female characters is the same contempt they hold for the women in their employ. And you can see it very clearly, and you can see it very easily. They had the fucking nerve to publicize a new cinematic that basically amounted to seeking justice against the people who wronged you is bad and makes you evil and will destroy you. Only a few days after news of this lawsuit broke. And that shows that they don't recognize the correlation. But I do. And thanks to this, I hate to say this, but I hate phrasing it like this. Thanks to that incredibly tone-deaf, horrible move, more people are seeing it too. More people are seeing the correlation. But I will always think about that when I think about World of Warcraft. I will always think about the guy who wrote "Watch Your Clever Mouth, Bitch" was sexually assaulting his own subordinates and had a hotel suite dedicated to Bill Cosby. That's the thought that remains in my head. The guy who wrote "Watch Your Clever Mouth, Bitch" was a serial abuser, surprising absolutely no one who has been paying attention for years. Fuck Blizzard. Fuck Dave Kosak. Fuck Alex Afrasiabi. Fuck Corey Stockton. Fuck Jesse McCree. Fuck Ghostcrawler. Fuck Ian Hazakostas. Fuck Chris Metzen. Fuck Tom Chilton. Fuck Steve Denuser. Fuck the lot of them. There is no path forward for this that involves any of those people keeping their fucking jobs. Because they need senior staff who are pro-consumer, pro-player, and most importantly, pro-women. And none of them are. Absolutely none of them are. It's all trash. It's rotten from the inside out. There's no fixing it without tearing it down and starting over. Burn it.